Let me start by making you this promise. By the end of this video, you are going to be very far on your way to becoming a React developer. My name is Martins. This is Curly Brackets. React is an open source JavaScript library developed by Facebook, now called Meta. But hey, trust me, I do not intend to bore you with all the long definitions. You can find those on Google. But JavaScript library. What is JavaScript library? Well, you may not know what is JavaScript library just yet, but I'm sure you know what is library, where you have bookshelves full of books everywhere. Well, it is actually the same thing, except this particular one. It is a library for JavaScript. Simply means a library of JavaScript pre-written codes that allows for easier development of JavaScript-based application. But then there is React.js, and then there is React Native. What we are going to be learning here today is React.js. Well, React is the JavaScript library itself. React.js is the JavaScript library for the web, and React Native is the JavaScript library of React for the mobile apps for the iOS and Android. The React.js uses something called React DOM. With this, when we write React codes, the React DOM interprets the React codes we've written into something the web can understand and interpret. While React Native is React written for Android and iOS devices. And how does this happen? When you write React, the native library interprets React just as React DOM interprets React for the web. The React Native interprets React for the iOS and the Android. The same React, different interpreters. See it that way. I know you can't wait to get your hands dirty. I'm getting bored with all these talks too. So let's go get our hands dirty together, shall we? Now, before we start, I want to believe that you already have a very good understanding of HTML and you have practiced with HTML and you must have built static websites with HTML and CSS. Another thing that you need to know before coming to this course is JavaScript. While I'm not expecting that you would be an expert in JavaScript, I am also not expecting that you would not know JavaScript at all. Basic JavaScript understanding is enough for this course, but you need to understand JavaScript before proceeding to React.js. Well, like I said, I'm not expecting you to be an overall expert in JavaScript, but basic understanding of variables, functions, classes is required. If you haven't done this, I advise that you please learn JavaScript first. Build some projects. There are many websites out there that can help you to do that. Now, if you're already done everything I said here, then you are most welcome. Let us get into it. The first thing we need to do is to install Node.js. Node.js is actually another JavaScript library for building web applications. Node.js is going to install for us some basic dependencies, things that we'll need or things that React needs to be able to run. Go to nodejs.org and install the recommended version for most users. Alright, there's another version here, but we are not using that. We are not going there. This is the one we're going to use. So you click on it to download it and you install it. I have it already installed, so I'm not going to install it again. The next thing we need is to get a code editor. There are 1001 code editors. Let's check them out. We have Notepad++, Brackets, Visual Studio Codes, Vim, and the rest of them. But what we are using is Visual Studio Code. Download it. It's open source. It's entirely free, and install it. So click on this arrow to choose your OS and download and run.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really think anyone can save me, and honestly I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my...
Good, so our Visual Studio Code is running. So the next thing we need to do right now is to get the folder that we just created in here. So So you can see file, open folder. Where is it? Here. Yes, I trust the auditors, trust folder, and enable features. This is good enough. So the folder is opened. You can see it here, curly bracket, tutorials. So the next thing I need to do right now, we need to create our React app. Now, if you have installed your Node.js, one way you need to know if your Node.js is properly installed is to run a test. So you can just go to your terminal if you're using Mac, and if you're using Windows, the command prompt will do it. So click on the terminal and run node space -v. In my own case, I have version 16.16 installed right here. The version you have in your computer is going to display. So this means that we have Node.js installed in this computer. So the next thing I need to do is to, in your Visual Studio Code, open your terminal. So you will see your terminal and then create new terminal. So while we are in this new terminal, we can see we are in the curly bracket. Of course, you can also run this in your command prompt in your main terminal if you're using Mac, or your command prompt if you're using Windows. But Visual Studio Code has its own terminal too, and you can use that. First thing I need to do right now, we need to create our React application. And to do that, we say npx create dash React app space, and now you give your app a name. So I'm going to call this one React lesson. I'll just call it lesson 1. Hit enter, and then you can take a sip of your coffee while you wait for React to run the codes. Alright, our app has installed successfully. At the terminal, you will see we suggest that you begin by typing cd lesson 1 npm start. Happy hacking. Okay, what this is actually saying is, as you can see a new folder here is created inside the folder we created earlier. React has created another folder where it has imputed some folders and files. For example, we have the package.json file. This is a very important file, right? You don't really have to change anything in this particular file until later in this tutorial. And here is why. Everything we install, every time we install a script or a dependency in this application, this is where React keeps a record, right, per se, of every dependency or everything we install. So just leave this the way it is. And if you look here, you will see node modules. Here there are a whole lot of folders. These are actually the JavaScript libraries that we're talking about. Contains a lot of codes and a whole lot of stuff that help our application run. We don't really need to change anything here. This is going to be the way it is. And then we have the public folder where you have the fav icon, the index.html, the logo, the manifest.json. Again, we don't necessarily need to touch anything on this particular folder for now. And then we have the source folder, the src folder. Here you have files that React created automatically for us. So let us run our application and then we can pick it up from there. So to run this application, you can see it already told us. We suggest that you begin by typing cd lesson 1. You can see the location where we are right now in the terminal. All right, so we need to get into the application folder, and to do that, you have to type cd lesson 1. Oh, there is no such directory as lesson. The directory cd stands for change directory, I think. So the name of the directory is lesson 1. Hit enter, and then I say npm start. All right, this is our application. Application is ready. We have React logo turning 360, gray background, and some things are written here. For now, this is our website. This is what React has built for us automatically. So in order for us to start our own application, we need to change this. This is not what we want to build, right? So the first thing we need to do is to delete everything that makes this run all over here. Everything that React did, on their own that is making this run. We need to delete them so that we can build our own. But then you can see that your application is running on port 3000, and the location, the URL for now is localhost because it is running right from your machine. Now let us go and scatter a few things that React has done here. So first we have the app.js, the app.css. It's nothing, it's just CSS files, all right, for the app.js. So, and then we have app.js. We are here, they imported the logo, they imported the app.css, and they referenced some classes in the app.css file, and they referenced the logo to build everything that we are seeing here. So, but that is not what we want. We don't need all of this right now. So for now, we need to delete app.css. Then app.test.js, we don't need that. We're not running any test for now. And index.css, we might make use of this. Now, however, some people would leave the app.css file and use it as their main CSS file for the applications. For me, I use the index.css file as my main file for my application. Anyone can work, actually. All right, so this is the content of the index.css. I don't need it, but I need index.css file. So because I'm going to make use of CSS in this application, so I'm going to leave this. Now we have the index.js. All right, so in index.js they imported our index.css. I'm going to leave it that way because I have index.css and I'm going to use it. So the report web vitals, I don't need it. Import app from app, that is this folder, that is this component here, the app.js file. I'm going to leave this because I'm going to use this app.js to write some codes. So I'm going to leave it for now. And then I'm going to leave this, and then import React DOM from React DOM/client. Like I explained in the introduction, we can't do without this guy here, right? We need the DOM library for us to be able to run our code on the browser. So we need this, and we're going to leave it. Now import React from React. This used to be a tradition back in the days, but in the recent React versions, whether you do this or not, your application will still run. But for now, let's not bore ourselves with a lot of stories. Let's just take out everything we don't need. This is the only thing we are going to make use of for now. All right, so ensure that your index.js file is looking like my own. I'm going to make a whole lot of explanations later for you to understand everything going on here right now. Okay, so this thing is giving me error. App.js. Okay, yeah. The logo, we don't need the logo actually, so I'm deleting it. And this error is because it can't find app.css file anymore, so it's giving me that error, can't resolve app.css. And so I've taken all of that out, and right now I'm going to highlight everything here and I'm going to delete it. I'm going to delete this as well. So I'm having just the div. In fact, I'm going to delete everything. Let's write our own. So let's check out our application. It's empty. So now we can build ours. In order to build our own, I'm going to come to the app.js and I'm going to write a very simple code. All right. So I'm going to say import React from React. Now this is no longer needed. It's no longer a must that you do this. The reason why I am doing it is just so that you get used to seeing it, because you might have to see it a lot in older programs. All right, you might have to see a lot of developers do it, so I wouldn't want it to look foreign to you. But Right now, you no longer need to do this. Whether you do it or not, your application will run fine. Function, app, because it's a function, and then we are going to run that function, and for us to run that function, it has to return something. This is just basic JavaScript, right? Has to return something. Now, what is it going to return? We want it to return a div, right? And that div should have h1 that says, hello, this is my first React project. Save. We are having error. Why are we having error? The reason why we are having error is because imported as app was not found in .app. Now, there is an import here that says import app from app. Now, this guy here is trying, this line of code here is trying to import this, but it's not seeing it. And because it's not seeing it, that is the reason why we're having this error. Now, for it to see it, we have to first of all export this. So in order to export it, we need to say export default app. And now, index.js can now import this app. Now, that is to say, I cannot import a component I have not first exported, right? So let us move on. We just created our first React page. Okay, so let us see how it looks like on the web. Hello, this is my first React page. I feel like clapping for us, right? We just built, maybe this is the first time you are writing a React application. It won't be the last time, and trust me when I say this, it gets easier from here. Now that we have run our first React application, we have run our first React project, let us stand on this hill right now and explain a whole lot of things you saw down there in the code. First, I'm going to explain everything going on here. This is just a function, like you would have created a function in your JavaScript, right? This function, its name is app. If we name this function my app, it won't work. For this to work, I have to do what? Export my app. Now, the code runs successfully. Look at it. Our code is still running. Now, this is a little bit confusing, right? Let it not confuse you. In as much as I named this app, I named this function my app, but what I imported is app. Okay? Now, when you export a function, at the point you are importing it, you can decide to name it something else. But what still points this? This importation here, this import here, still points to this guy. Why? The reason why it still points to this guy is that is only, and there can only be one app component, right? App.js here. I would have named this app.js, it's still the same thing. All right, if I say app, if I just say app, React assumes it's a .js file. But if it is any other file at all, you must have to put the extension like CSS, like we have CSS here. I can't just say /index. React will actually assume I'm importing a JS file. But if it's not a JS file, then I'll have to put the extension. So now, anytime I say import app or import John from here, and all I need to say here is if I'm importing John, that means here where the app is rendered, I have to say John. And let's see, the app still runs, right? The reason is whatever it is I put as name here, JavaScript or React assumes already, or assumes that that is what I exported. So in as much as I exported this as my app, this name here has taken the place of that function I exported, even though that is not the name I gave it during the time I exported it. Now, you won't see people naming their applications John or naming their components John, so we can just leave it at app and leave this at app. I just hope you understand what I just explained right now. All right, now let's explain this a little bit further. So I imported React, which I already told you that I can decide to take away. Look at the naming convention. The first letter has to be capital. All right, just try to get used to these conventions, right? So that you don't run into errors later. So what I need to say here is the next thing I did, declaring a function, and I say this function to return a div, right? Now, what I wanted to return, I wanted to return horizontal line too, and I can want it to return another div, and another div, and another div until we have a full-blown website. Okay, so that is actually how React works. And then coming to the index file, we imported it, having exported it here. We imported it, and then we imported the CSS file, and then we imported our React DOM dependency. Okay, and then what did we do? We now say React DOM.create root document.get element by root. Now this brings me to the next explanation. Why are we even using React in the first place? Why can't we just stick to building our websites using JavaScript and other things that we've been using before? The truth is, React applications run faster. The reason React applications run faster is because it is a one-page website. You might be looking at a multi-page website, very vast in functionality, but in the real sense, it is just one page. Let me give you an example. Okay, this is my website, and I built it on React. Right? You can see home, about me, designs, my project, and hire me, and every other thing that I have in this website. Truth is, it might look like these are separate pages, right? But in the real sense of things, it is just one page. Now, that is how React works, and that is one of the beauties of React. Okay, so everything we are going to do, whether it is 10,000 pages, lines of code, or 1,000 components, we have to bring everything and lay them bare, right? We have to bring everything into this file, into this app file. So they have to take up this, right? A lot of developers call this particular page app. So let's just use the normal convention people use. Of course, you can name it anything you want, but this is the actual name, file name that a lot of people use, right? So every component we have in this project all have to be rendered here. And when they are rendered here, this will now be rendered in the index.js file. And once it is rendered in the index.js file, what happens? Index.js says document.getElement by ID. That ID is root. So index.js is saying, I want you to get an element for me. Get that element by ID, and that ID is root. So when we go to our index.html, we are going to see a div that has the ID root. So every time our page renders, actually what renders on the web, what the web sees is this index.html, just this one page. But then, every time I surf around this stuff, it is simply React running every other thing I have in this application. And when it is done executing that instruction, it passes it to this same guy, root, and displays it to the web browser. So at the end of the day, we have just one index.html, just one page. And that page in return renders a whole lot of things by the instructions we give to it in React. Because of this, we don't have index.html or index.php, about us.php, this.php, and every time you reference a page and they have to load and all of that. We don't have that here. Index.js takes this guy and sends it to an element that has the ID root. And then in our index.html, we have a code that React.js already written for us, and it says div ID equal to root. So everything we have written on React.js is going to render them in between displays. And for this, the application is fast, it is easier to manage, it is easier to maintain, the codes are reusable. Now, let us populate this a little bit. Okay, so let us write code. And it says although I'm doing this for the first time, but in my opinion, I am killing it. All right, let's save it. Now we have a lot of errors. We have a whole lot of errors right here. And the reason for this error, it just says adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Now that brings us to something else I want to talk about here. I want to talk about JSX. All right. The code you are looking at looks like HTML codes, right? But truth is, these are not HTML codes. It is called JSX. Although it looks like HTML, but they are JSX. Now, it's called JSX. Why are we using it anyway? Why we are using these codes that looks like HTML codes, per se, HTML elements, is because our interpreter, like I said in the intro video, our interpreter in quotes in this case is React DOM. And React DOM, these are the kind of elements React DOM understands. Now remember, web browsers understands basically HTML codes, right? Web browsers understands basically HTML codes. Now the difference between React Native and React.js is actually this. React.js, in React Native, we don't use this. We don't use div, h1, hr, and all of that because Android devices and iOS devices don't understand this. But we are writing this for web and for web browsers, and this is actually the languages that web browsers know. So JSX was designed to look like HTML. So every time we are writing these codes, it's not HTML, it's actually JSX. Okay, so by writing codes like this, we are able to convince the browser. By the time React takes everything we are doing and inserts it into this guy here, the browser is made to believe that these are HTML codes, and then it ends up rendering everything that we have put out in this place. But in the real sense, it's actually JSX. The difference between React.js and React Native is this. While we use JSX, or you can now call it this HTML lookalike elements to render our website in React.js, we can't try it in React Native because your phones don't really understand these things. The phone doesn't understand div, doesn't understand H1, Android and iOS devices or iOS operating systems. They don't understand these things, right? They have the elements that they understand, and those are the native elements. So in React Native, we use the native elements. Like where you have div, I will use view. I will have to use view, React Native, and I have to close view. And here I can just say H1. I have to use text. Sorry, I have to use text and then close text. And don't let this confuse you. So these are React Native. These are kind of things we use in React Native that we can't use here. Here we use this HTML looking alike stuff, and that is that for JSX. All right. So I just did this, and then this popped all of these errors I have here, and it's telling me that I can do this, right? I have div that starts from here and closes here, and then I have a paragraph that starts from here and closes here. So React is telling me that I can do this in React.js. I must close everything here in one tag. So there must be a parent tag, right, covering everything I have here. So I can just say div. So I can just decide to use one div. Oh, sorry, not capital letter, please. One div, and then paste it here, and our problems are solved. So let me just take this. All right, so I have a div here and I have a div here. and that should be able to solve the problem. And then we have our website rendered properly. Oh, in my opinion, I am actually killing it. Sorry for that. All right. Okay. All right. So the next thing I would want to talk about in this is I can use div. Please, I can use div. You can also decide to just use this. This is allowed, right? Empty tags is allowed. You can serve as enclosing tags for you too. So application is still the way it is. Now you can see the title, right? You can see the title, you know, your HTML head title. You can see the title, right? The title is React app. And in order to change that, I have to come to this public folder, and HTML, the title, right? You can see that. I'm going to say, welcome to me, welcome to my React lesson, save it, and then we have blah right here. Okay. Oh, let's close this. We don't need this. If you like, actually, you can take out all of these comments. You might not need those. You can take out all of these comments. They're not important to what we're doing, or you can just leave it. Okay. So, how do we write JavaScript? Right? Because this is still JavaScript. So now, how do we write JavaScript? Because even though React has provided us with a whole lot of libraries to make everything easy for us, but we still have to write JavaScript. We still have to do some calculations. We still have to declare variables. We still have to declare functions that will help us, you know, to build the application to our test. All right. So how do we write JavaScript? Now, if I want to declare a variable, I'm going to declare a variable here. Of course, sometimes you can use above here. All right. Before you can declare a variable here outside the scope of your function. We all understand, if you know JavaScript, you can understand that this is a scope, right? So this is a scope. So you can decide to, if you want to use the variable globally, you can decide to declare it, you know, outside the scope of the function app. But when it is time to do that, I will let you know. But for now, we can just declare a scope bound variable, you know, and say, let my name equal to Martins. Now, if you like, please feel free to put semicolon. Yeah. Even if we don't do this, JavaScript does that for us automatically in this case. So, and then I say, let my country equal to Nigeria. My age equal to 30. Now you notice I'm using the camel case naming convention, where the starting of a new, when you have, you know, two words, then the starting of the next word has to be capital letter. Of course, in naming React variables, we can do this. So in naming of JavaScript variables per se, we can do this. All right. So the best way is the camel case. I can also say my age, but I don't know. It's better this way, and this is what you see a whole lot of programmers in the whole world doing. So this is a common naming convention among JavaScript developers. All right, so we have three variables here, and this variable, we want to use it in our JSX. We want to display it in our application. So what do you think we are going to do? Now let me have another paragraph, and I'm going to say P. Oh, let me use H2 this time. H2, and say my name. Sorry. is time to bring in JavaScript, right? I can't say my name, even though I want to say that, but I can do that. First, I have to introduce curly brackets. All right. So in order to bring in JavaScript in the JSX, I have to introduce curly brackets, and I say my name. Comma. I am my country Nigerian, so and I am my age. Okay, let's save this and check it out. $30, sorry, of age. And notice I said my country and then I put N. That is because I want it to show us Nigerian, right? So this is our variable and this is the N I added, later. A part of element or a larger whole, especially a part of a machine or vehicle. That's what component means. Now, what does component mean in React? Exactly the same thing, except we need to take off machine or vehicle and insert React project. So it means a part or element of a larger React project, simple, or a part or element of a larger React application. That is what a component is. So now let's put this to test. We have everything we have written here already, right? But I don't want this. Now imagine we have 1,000, 2,000 lines of code, and then we have to write everything on app, and then eventually we have something to fix somewhere, and then we start navigating in the heap, start navigating thousands of lines of JavaScript code. Now you would have preferred that this thing runs like a car, that your application runs like a car, right? You know a car, when you have a deflated tire and you want to put some air into it, or when you have a flat tire and you want to put some air into it, you don't go losing the engine. Why? The engine is a separate component, even though they are all working in the car, but each component can be serviced separately without having to touch the other. Of course, the engine is also a component that has a lot of components inside of it. That is also possible in your React application. You can have a component being a mother to all other components, or you can call it parent to all other components. So let's do this. I don't want any of these guys here, so I'm taking it out. Command X. So I'm going to render something, div, just leave it there. I want home.js. So in this home.js, I have function, home. I want it to return this div, and I paste everything right here. Oh, I don't need this div, actually. I already have my guy here. So now I need to export home. Now you can notice here we exported, we say app, export default app. Actually, another way of doing this is by just putting everything in one line here. Say export default function home. So this here is the same thing as declaring the function and exporting it down here. Exactly the same thing. So now let us run our save and run our application. Oh, sorry, saying my name is assigned but never used. Sorry. Well, first of all, we'll come back to that. Let us see our application. Everything is empty. Everything is broken. What did we do wrong? There must be something we did wrong, right? Where is it? What is it? Can you guess? Can you guess? Can you guess? What we did wrong was we exported this guy, right? The home.js, but it's not here. in the app.js. And why is it not here? If it's not here, it can't show here. Why can't it show here? Because app.js is the only component that we rendered in the index, and that is the only component that went into our DOM, and it is only what goes into the DOM that we can find here. In order for this to display, in order for what we have here in the home.js, in the home component to display, we have to import it first in the app component and say home, import home from where it's in the same folder with app.js. So I'll just say home.js, or I'll just leave it this way. And then I'm going to say render home. All right. So now we have another error. My name is not defined. My country is not defined. My age is not defined. Oh, what did we do wrong again? Can you guess? We declared these variables here, but we are using them. We don't really need them here anymore. So where we need them is right here. So we are calling variables that are not declared in this component. If that is what you guessed, you are right. If that's not what you guessed, you already know. Okay, all of these spaces are not important. And I like exporting my stuff like this. So please, yeah, going to find me using this a lot. So I try to limit my codes as much as possible. It's back. Now when we change something, S2, I am your, or let me say, in this lesson, I will be your, say, let my job equal to instructor. In this lesson, I will be my job. So let us get another component. Okay, let's call it header.js, and then we for default, sorry, function header. Export default header, and then so in this one I'm going to put a header, I'm going to put h1 So this is your header, so you can call this your navbar. This could be your navbar, could be your whatever. So it says this is the header of the page. Other guys are below me. So what do you think I need to do to make this render here? What do you think I need to do to make this render here? I think you must have guessed that having exported it, I need to import it into where? Into where? Now, if I decide to import this guy here, let me import it here. Let me show you. Import header. From header, and then I say render header, And then you must have noticed how I render the components after I import it. All right, so the name here must be capital. You know, the name here must be capital. If it's a component, the name here, the first letter, sorry, must be capital letter. And then whatever you give it here, you must give it right here. Okay, so I'm rendering header and I will always self-close it. Okay, right. Just as we can find the same way the app is right here. So I have to say, this is the header of this page. Other guys are below me. Okay, I rendered this right inside the home. That means that the home is parent to the header. Okay, and then I rendered home to app.js. Again, I would have simply decided to just do it right here. It depends on what you want. So if I want that this guy here, that header should be a shared component to the home. Like I said, the engine of a car has other components inside of it, right? I'm not a mechanic, but I know a couple of things that can be found inside the engine of a car. Right, good. So all of those components, they might have other components inside of them too. Right? That's how this thing works. So if I want the header to be a shared component of home for any reason, then this is what I should do. What I should do is this, right? But if I don't want it like that, like in this case, that's not what I want, right? So I need to copy this out of here and save it. And then I have to take it to app.js and then render my header. Very good. Now, this also depends, which one do I want to be rendered first? Do I want this to be first and then this under it? Or do I want this to be first and then this under it? It's just up to me. Same thing. So if in the order of my design, in my UI, that this should be first, then I should do it. Hello, this is my first page, React page. This is the header of the page. Other guys are below me. Except right now it's lying. Other guys are actually above right now. Right, good. Okay, so let's bring other guys below where they are. So our guy here won't be lying when he says other guys are below me. Yeah. Okay, I hope you understand everything I've been doing so far, and I hope this class is fun. If you have any question, I'm saying again, please feel free to reach out to me. Use my email address, and I will do my best to attend to as many people as I can. If you like what we're doing on this channel, why not just go ahead and click the subscribe button, because we are going to have many more groundbreaking tutorials. All right, please, if you think I'm doing a good job, go ahead to like my video, go ahead to share it, go ahead to subscribe, tell people about this channel, put it on your WhatsApp status, share it on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, tell people about the good work we are doing here. Let us build this community, right? Good. So let us take this a little bit higher. But before we do that, pause this video and practice everything that we have done so far. Practice it. Do it all over and over again. Best way to learn how to code is to code. Now I'm talking too much. Let's take this higher. So next topic, we are discussing props. Props is what we use to pass data from one component to another component. To demonstrate what we're talking about, I will have to make use of this design that I have right here. Okay, I made a design in Figma. This is just the first thing we'll be building. This is the first real thing we'll be building. This is a card. All right, it's a static card. I know you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Why are we not doing something sophisticated like e-commerce, like build one gigantic application or the other? Truth is, this is just a static web page, static stuff that you can do using your HTML and CSS, but we are going to use React for it. The reason why we are going to use React for this is because by building this using React, we are going to discuss a whole lot of topics that is going to shape this lesson, and it's going to help us when we now start going into those advanced projects in the future without having to discuss some of these topics using simple web pages like this. It will be very difficult for a new person or for a React developer to catch up, in the later stages of the course. So we are going to build this with React. All right, not just static HTML and CSS anymore. We're going to build this with React, and you are going to see how props works. I'm going to see how we are going to pass one information or pass data from one component to the other. Let's get started. So first, I'm going to design it, right? And for this lesson, I have written some CSS in our index.css right here. There is a link in the description box of this tutorial, and there you are going to find this CSS right there. Okay, so just click on the link and save the file from my GitHub page, and when you extract it, you're going to find all of the files and all of the codes that I made use of in this lesson, and there you're going to find this one too. All right, so you can do that right now and copy the code. If you are following this lesson as I'm doing it, you can just do that right now and copy the code into your index.css file, and by doing that, you'll be able to follow me as I'm doing this. Take this out entirely, and by doing that, we now have an empty page. So I don't need this guy for now. And okay, let's take all of this out. Okay, so we have, now let's work on it. So I'm going to say div class. Now in React, we don't say class when we want to reference a CSS class, right? We can't say class container. That is not allowed. All right, what we can say is class name. So class name container, and then I'm going to have another div. This one should be class name card, and inside this card I'm going to have, according to my CSS, I'm going to have another card, another div, top, and then inside this I'm going to have another div, with the class name top content, and here I'm going to have an image, src image source, and alternative text equals to portrait and self-closing tag. So let's get the image link. So I'm going to use Unsplash. I'm going to use unsplash.com. Unsplash.com, if you don't know, unsplash.com is one of the websites where you can have access to free high resolution images for your website. So here I'm going to search portrait. So the person in our design is this person here. So let's find her. Should be there somewhere. There she is. And then copy image address and paste it right here. I think this is quite long. I don't think I like this long stuff, so let me just let me do this some other way. Please permit me to. I'm going to say let img photo. Yes, so, and then in my link I'll just have img. Yeah, we have her here. Then the next thing we need to do is to h1, we need to put her name, Julia Alonso, and then need to use H4. I think that's what I did. H4, yes. All right, we need to use H4, and that H4 says front end developer 34, and she's from Spain. It came right. Yes, she's from Spain. Okay, so let's check it out. Very good. So the next thing we add is we have sorted out this. So the next thing we should do right now is to bring in another div. And we say class name. Div is the card body. So I'm going to say card body. And then H1 think about me. Then we have the paragraph small p, and let us get Lorem ipsum test. Lorem ipsum generator. All right, I just need one paragraph, I think. Generate. I think from here should be enough. And then I paste this here. Another long stuff. It will be distracting. Let me just do it here. Let's paragraph pgh equal to yep. And I just need to bring my JavaScript here. Bring the variable pgh. So save it. Yeah, okay. This is much more. Let's add a little bit more text to it. And here. I'll just paste it somewhere. Yep. Okay. Okay, we can. It's not as much, but it's not as much as this one. But you can just do that on your own. Let's move on. All right. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to add the skills.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Something
Skills. So the next thing we need to do is to add a footer. Okay, and div footer. What we need to have here, we had in this place we have logos, icons. All right, although I didn't think it is time for us to do this, but because we have icons, let's just get our icons from the internet. Let's get icons from Iconify. All right, why I use Iconify is this is not a paid promo, please. Why I use Iconify is there are a lot of sources for icons for web development, for web projects. You have the hero icons, you have React icons, you have FA icons, and the rest of them. Iconify is actually a combination of all of these icon libraries. So there are thousands and thousands of icons here. Alright, so that's why I like it and that's why I use it. So I'm going to click here and search icon, and they have. So let me say Twitter. So we're using it for React, so select React, and we need to install the Iconify library first. Iconify React library. To do that, the code is already here, so you just copy it, and then at the terminal, we are in curly bracket tutorial. So let us get into our project application folder. So to do that, we say lesson 1. We are in there now, so paste this code and run it.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be
alright. We have it installed. So the next thing we need to do is to import the icon from this code here, right? So we just need to copy it. We need to import the icon into our component. So we just say we don't need this anymore. We don't need these two anymore. So we just imported the icon library into our project. The next thing we need to do right now, I like giving spaces. From the import area, I like to give spaces, and then when I come into the function, into the body of my component, I like to give spaces. Now use the component, so use the icon component. So, and what we need to do right now is we declared footer, so we just paste this right here. So let's see what we have. Good, we have our Twitter icon, but this icon should be able to lead us somewhere, right? So we say href quote, so let's say http twitter.com/ Julia Alonso, right? So we need to enclose the icon tag. All right, so we have it. Yeah, it's a link now. It's going to take us somewhere. So we just do the same thing for the GitHub icon. As you can see, she has a GitHub account, through which we can access her GitHub account. So just search GitHub icon here, GitHub, and then we choose our GitHub icon out of so many available. Okay, React is already chosen. We don't need to install it again, it's already installed. We don't need to import icon again from Iconify library. We already done that, so we just need to render icon using everything they tell us to do here. So we just copy this.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time.
Working. So let's check out our design. I think there are a little bit differences, but actually on your own you can work out, right? I'm sure you can just work it out. I think the text a little bit bolder, or is the color? I think you can just work it out, right? You can try to modify the CSS till it looks exactly like our design. For the sake of this tutorial, this is enough. This is okay for me for now. All right, so we have this. If I have a component called card, right, a .js, what I just simply need to do is to just copy everything I have here and copy everything I have here and then paste it right here. Okay, and then I have to delete this, and then I copy everything I have here. Okay, I might leave the container and just copy all of this stuff here. And paste it here. Okay, and let's save it and save this. So what I need to do right now, okay, I need to take this icon import command and put them right here. Also, oh, this shouldn't be here. I want it to be scope variable. Should be here, yes. So what I need to do right now is to import card from card. All right. Okay, so import card from card, and then what I need to do right here, you already know the drill. Can you guess it? Can you guess it? Just render card. Save closing tag. Don't need to. I'm used to this, right? Once I render a component, the first thing I do is to give space. Trust me, it's not needed. It's just a reflex action, something I'm just used to doing for no single reason. I can simply do this like right here, but I'm sorry, I'm used to this. All right, so just render it. The result is still the same. We still have our card. Now that we have our card component running, I want you to imagine for a second of a scenario where we have 20 to 30 developers and we want to display a card component containing their details. So we have a developer called John, and we have a developer called Simon, and we have a developer called Mark, and so on. That means we have to create a card component for each and every one of those developers, and then we have to render all of those card components on the app.js component. That would mean creating 50 card components, and so you have component names like cardjulia.js, cardmark.js, cardsimon.js, cardpeter.js, and all of them rendered in the app.js. That would be a very mechanical way of getting things done, and I want to believe you agree with me that that is a very mechanical and disturbing way of getting things done. This is one of the reasons why we need props. Simple. So if we decide to make use of props is just a short form of properties. So we give this guy a properties. Example, this application here, this card here has properties. So what are the properties of this card? Can you guess? Can you help me? Properties of this card. Anybody there? Help me. Can you guess it? It has a picture of Julia. It has a name of Julia. It has job title. It has her age. It has her country. It has information about her. It has her skills, and it has icons, right? That leads to her social media and her GitHub page. That is the properties. So if we are to declare properties for this guy, for this component, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to put down everything that that component has, the properties that that component has, and one of them is image equal to, right? So now we need to paste that image here. Okay, so let us do this. Let us bring back all of these variables here because I don't want to I don't want to paste I would want to paste all these long strings here, so let us bring this here. So our image, I'm supposed to put this image string right here, but for the sake of this tutorial, let us have so let's say image Julia. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. All right. So image Julia, I'm going to paste this right here. I don't need this. Good. I'm going to paste this right here, so I don't need this anymore. Good. And then the next thing I need to do, I will need to bring in her skills. So I'm going to say her skills are equal to, I'm going to copy everything I have here. So I'm going to have about me, and let's call it this way. And then I'm going to have to copy all of this. Good. Okay, good. And then I don't need this anymore. So that's the reason why I did this. I have to just paste it direct. Okay, so the next thing I need to do, she has a job title. So let us have title. Her title is front-end developer, and she has an age. Age is 34. She has a country. Her country is Spain, and she has okay, and then she has what else? She has Twitter page, which is http twitter.com/Julia Alonso, and she has a GitHub page, which is github.com/Julia Alonso. Oh, sorry, it's giving us an error. So where? Oh, that should be from here. So I think all of this. Now, so we have assigned properties to this card, to the card component that we rendered, right? Remember, every one of these properties, this guy would have simply been like that, like this, unbothered all the while, you know. But now that we have props, we have to declare the props, right? So how does this affect the real component? How it affects the real component is that now that we have assigned properties to the card component, now we need to come to the card component and declare props. Now all of these variables, let's just take them out. Just put empty strings here so that it won't give us the error and all of that. Alright, sorry, I just need to. Alright, now we have to come here and put props. Now, here's the trick. We assign properties, right, to the card element, sorry, to the card component. We assigned properties. We declared all of the properties that the component has, the name and everything, and we declared them here, and we assigned values to those props. So when we go to the card component itself, we say function card. This function card now is going to we now say function card, right? This function card is going to receive a value, and that value it is going to receive is props. These props right here. What is in these props? Okay, what is in these props? What is in this props right now is everything that we have declared here. That is the content of these props. This props right now is carrying everything that we have declared here. I'm repeating myself again. We passed these values, right? We passed these properties to our component card, all right? And then we have to pass a value right now in the actual card component. We now have to declare the card function, and then we pass a value to it. So that means this guy here represents everything that we have here. Okay, so what do you think is going to be her name now? Her name now is going to be props.name. Why? The name that we declared here. Oh, we haven't declared her name. Let's do that. Name equal to right. This name that we declared here is now a property of this props. Is now an object item of this props. All right. So everything that we have here, every value, every item, have been assigned to this guy. So when we say props.name, we are referring to the content of this person here. So we just say props.name. So she is a developer and that is her title. So we say what? Sorry. Props.title. Her age is props.age. And her country is props.country. Okay, the about me long string is now props.about me, and her skills props.skills, and then the link to where she's going, the link to her Twitter page is now props.twitter. Then her GitHub is props.github. Now let us see the content of this card. Okay, everything is complete apart from the image. Where is it? Okay, image src should be props.image. Yeah, we have it back. Okay, so you can see that now we have, instead of creating card component for Martins, card component for Julia, card component for John, card component for Mike, and every time we just keep creating card components with different this thing here, and then we start rendering them one by one here. So right now we just going to have one card component. All right, so you can see, let me show you something. When we initiated these props here, React created an array of objects. Okay, React created an array of objects, and the object items are everything we have here. Let me show you. When we said props here, right, if we say console.log props, let's see what the props contain. Let's inspect. By the way, I haven't told you about this guy here, right? When we say console.log, if you write JavaScript, you should be used to console.log a lot. So when we say console.log, so we expect the console to show us something, right? So in this case, where you are going to find the content of the console is when you right click on the web browser and say inspect, and then you click on the console here and you see it. So you can see that what we just console logged, here it is. React created an object, right? An array of objects, and the object items are those properties that we declared. So that is the reason why we were able, right, to say props.name, and we would be talking, when we say props.name, we are talking about this name here. When we say props.image, we're talking about this image. Properties, props in JavaScript or in programming, properties means, when you say the property of an object, all right, talking about the property. Property is just, that's what it just means. It means the property of an object. This object here, right, which is the props, has properties, and they are about me, age, country, and the rest of them. You can call them object items or object properties, right? So that's what it is, the short form of the properties, that is props. Every time I teach programming, I like to use real life scenarios to teach it, because one of the reasons why people don't understand programming is that people don't understand how similar programming terms are with real life situations, right? Like when we say this is an object, what do we even mean? And this object has properties. What do we even mean? What we mean is like the object in your house. Okay, which object is that? Let's say the object has a fan, right? You have a standing fan in your living room, and that standing fan is the object, and that standing fan has properties. It has a blade. It has a blade, it has a stand, it has a motor inside, it has a coil, right? So these are the properties of the object fan. So when we want to, if in programming terms right now, if we say fan and then we want to refer to the coil, we say this coil is the coil of the fan. This is the blade of the fan. So that blade in programming terms means fan.blade, fan.coil, fan.motor. You understand it right now. So that is simply what it means. All right. So if we have another developer right now, let's say we now have another developer called Mr. John, what do you think we are going to do? Someone should guess, please. What do you think we are going to do to be able to capture John's data? We don't need to touch this anymore, right? This guy here renders this. All we need to do is to render card again, all right, and add properties to it. Simple. So we just need to, let's just copy this and paste it here, but now we need to change the name. So I have another card, Peter John, front-end developer from UK. So let us get his data, sorry. Let us get his data rather. So copy image address. So instead of having this guy here, and then change the name to Peter John. And then his skills, Flutter Wave. Please permit me to just copy this. Skills. All right, about him. Okay. They just copy lot in if some, or we just leave the one here and change few things. So this. Let's put this here, and let's put this here. and he's from the UK this time. Then his Twitter page is Peter J, and his GitHub page is Peter J. Alright, save this. Why do we have an error? Oh, this shouldn't be here. Okay, save this. Let's check it out. Now we have 2 developers, right? And we didn't have to create a new component, right? Using props, we were able to share data between the app component and the actual card component. So all we need to do is to pass data, pass information here, and then withdraw that information. I said props here, right? And I said console.log props. So let us check our console and see what we have there right now. Let's check the console. Check the console. Sorry, let's close this and do this again. You can see we have 2 objects this time. See, this object has Peter John's file, and this object here has Julia's file. That means this single props, right? This single props here, right, has become an array of objects, and now it is having 2 objects that 2 objects belonging to these 2 developers in it. So if we have, oh, skills is not showing. Oh, here is skill, and then here is skill, so it won't show except we use the same skills. Okay, good. Every time we have a developer, we don't need to create a new component. Right now, all we need to do is to just duplicate, add another card component, and then add the properties of this new developer in it, and that developer is going to be found showing in our application, in our project. Let us add another developer.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine.
Okay, we have Kate Simon right now in our project, but then do you think this is the best way, to have this done? I don't think this is the best way, right? What if there is a way? Because if we have 100 instructors, that means we have to copy and paste this and change the values for 100 people. What if we become 200? What if we become 300? What other way can we do this that will be more efficient and easier without having to be too complex, right? I think I have a way. I think I have a suggestion. I think I might know something that could work, and that thing is called map function. Now, before I start, map function is a function in JavaScript. All right. I know maybe you have forgotten, maybe it's been a while you used it and you have forgotten, so I'm going to do a little revision to remind you of what map function is. Assuming we have, let's say, const my array equal to, let's say we have array 246 8 10 array, and then we have const map array variable and we'll say my array dot map. Using map, you can alter the values of an array. I can multiply every number here by a number. For an example, I can minus every number here by a number. So I can perform a mathematical function on all of these numbers here at the same time, right? That is what map function does, right? With map function, I can, so if I say y fat arrow y times 3. By the way, if you already know what map function is all about, I think you are free to skip this part. Alright, so but let me just do this little revision for some of us who have forgotten. So if I say map and then I say y fat arrow y times 3. Now this is what I'm saying. This y here represents every number in this array. Y is 2, y is 4, y is 6, y is 8, y is 10. And I say, what I'm saying is y fat arrow y times 3. So what I'm saying is, for every number in this array, multiply that number by 3. It must not be y. Some people use item, sorry. So a lot of people use item, a lot of people are used to item. So for every item, I'm saying multiply it by 3. So let us console log map array variable and see what we have, right? All right, so look at it. We have an array. The 2 has been multiplied by 3. The 6 was multiplied by 3. You can see 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. And that's exactly what 3 times 2, 3 times 4, 3 times 6, 3 times 8, 3 times 10 should give you. Now, we are going to apply this same map and we are going to see how we can use it, right? To display this same thing we have here. To achieve this same result that we have here. By the way, you can see the stuff is a little bit messy. It's not responsive. All right, the CSS is not responsive. There's no time for me to do that. Place in your own, so you can go ahead and make your own responsive if you want. We are not teaching CSS right now, so I didn't bother doing that in my own code. So every time I try to see my console, the view is going to look a little bit like this. I think I should let you know that, while I continue. Okay, let us try to make use of map function to display this, all right, without having to make this kind of mess that we have here. Okay, so that's what we are going to do in the next lesson. All right, welcome once again. If you have followed me up to this point, I think you deserve, if you have followed me up to this point and you have done everything I have done so far, I think you should sip your coffee. I think you should give yourself a minute break, walk around, laugh with your neighbors, pause this video, walk around, laugh with your neighbors, eat something, drink water, drink wine, and call your name and say kudos to me, because if you have done everything I have done so far, I'm telling you, you are doing an amazing job for yourself. All right, and I want to tell you that one way to learn how to code is to code a lot. Okay, so everything I have done, you can pause this video and try to redo them over and over again. That is how you build muscle memory. Now, the next thing I'm going to do right now is to make use of map. Now, to do that, let us create an array of objects somewhere in a separate file. All right, and let us make that file the only place where we store all the information about our instructors. So every time we have a new guy on the block, we don't have to do all of this heavy work. We just go to our database and just input the person's data right there. And the next morning when somebody visits our website, the person will see that we just had a new instructor called Michael from Germany. Yes. Okay, let's do that. So everything I have here, I'm going to recreate them and now make them an array of objects. Right, let's do that. I'm going to create, say, let's call it instructors.js, right? And here I'm going to say const instructors is equal to an array, and this array is going to contain objects, comma, objects, comma, objects, right? So what I need to do right now, so everything I had, on this guy, I'm going to copy it and paste it right here. So this is one object, this is another object. So I'm going to paste it right here, and I'm going to say comma. In fact, I'm going to take out all of this equal to here, because now we are dealing with array of objects and we can have equal to. Instead we have semicolon. Now if you're wondering how I did this, it's just a trick in VS Code where if you hold your Alt, you can make multiple changes at the same time, right? Hold your Alt and click as many as possible. So I need to put commas here because now they are now objects. So, and I do the same for this guy here, and the same for this long tall guy here. By the way, this must not be the same line, right? I can break it, but for the sake of this tutorial, for clarity's sake, I won't do that. So comma here and comma here. All right, so that's it. So we now have an array, and this array contains objects, and one object we have is this guy. Now what we have here, all right, is actually the same thing. Where is that place? Yes, it's actually the same thing with what we have here. All right, what we just have this place. This is array of numbers, but this is array of objects. So it's just like saying that we now have objects here. So I'm now putting objects, this object, and this object, just and so forth and so forth. So yeah, all right here. So the next thing we need to do is we need to do the same. Let's convert this to objects. Now, like I said, this can be your database. If it's database, we wouldn't be doing this, right? We would have just inputted our file into our database, and if it is MongoDB, we would have just used our Node.js to, input our files in our MongoDB database. But, hey, let's not do that right now. Trust me, I don't want to do that right now. I'm sorry for going there. All right, so this is what we need to do. So this is your JSON file. This is like your API or just your JSON file. So and then we put everything, and then we put this, and then we put comma, with comma here, put comma, put comma. Right, did I miss something? Oh, sorry, my bad. This should actually be inside here. All right. Okay, let's just use this too. So what do I need to do right now? What do you think I need to do? I need to export this array. So to export that, I will say export default. That's all. So because I can't import it without exporting it, so now that I've exported it, I can now import it. In our app.js, I can now import it. Import blah blah blah, this guy here from instructors. So now it's time to map on this guy and render everything that this guy has, right? So I don't need any of this anymore. Oh, Kit Simon. Okay, let's just take everything out. Find the data later. Okay, so take everything out. So right here we now have to, let's take this out too. We don't need this. So having imported our instructors, so what we need to do right now is to map through it and then see what we can do with it. So to do that, since this is JavaScript, we put our curly bracket and then we say instructors.map as item, right? And saying item, and I can say fat arrow, okay, fat arrow. Now you can see the moment I put a fat arrow, okay, React has recognized that this item has what? Has objects, and each object, you can see this item now represents every of the objects in that array, and those objects has what? Name, image, skills as their properties. So for every item, I want you to render this. For every item, I want you to render card component, right? For every item. The card has been rendered, but it's empty, okay? Because we have not assigned any value anyway. So what we said is map into this guy, and for every item, for every, if you take your cursor to the item, you will see that every object in that place has now been represented by item. Sorry, I wish I can move my cursor into this. I can. So you can see that this item right here has now represented the object. Oh god, yes, the object in the array, right? If I change this to developer, right, let me say developer. So if I map into this and developer, you can say the dev is now used to represent every of the object in the array. So for every object, we say render a card. That's exactly what it did. All right. So for these cards, we want it to have props. Okay, so it has to have image, and that image, curly bracket again, I will say dev.image, and it should have title, and it should be dev.title, and it should have a name, dev.name, it has age, dev.age. I think React is giving us suggestions of what we'll have there now. Twitter, dev.twitter, GitHub, dev.github, and then it has about me. It should be dev.about me. Then we have what else do we have? Skills, right? Should be dev.skills. Alright, let's save it and take a look at what we have. Voila! They are back. Two of them at the same time. That is all we need to do. So for every object, right, in this place, this guy is going to map into it and is going to. So even if we have 200 instructors, we don't need to touch this guy anymore. All we need to do is to enter their data in our database in quotes. Okay, so all we need to do right now is enter the data in our database, and once we enter the data in our database, which currently is this array of objects, everything we want gets displayed the way we want them. Now let us let's add Kate's file, right? Let's add Kate's file quickly. Very good. Kate is here. So, and we keep doing this. So the moment we added Kate's info right here, it displays. So every time we update our database, it displays. But that's not all. Let me show you something. Right click and inspect. You see a warning, right? React is warning us. This is not a good sign. React is saying each child in the list should have a unique key prop. Now, since we are now dealing with a single source of data, React is expecting that there should be a unique value. All right, if it's a MongoDB, for an example, there is a unique value. MongoDB assigns an automatic ID. So since we are now having a single data source, React is saying that all of these three guys here, they must have a unique identifier, of which we can decide to use their name. Oh, their country is not showing. Why? Country is not showing. Why? Okay, I didn't. Oh, country. Dev.country. Yeah. So that means each of these guys should have a unique identifier. We can decide to use their name for the time being, since none of them is answering the same name. But you know, in a real application, 10 people, 20 people can have the same name, and that is not a good thing to use. We can't use age either, since people can be age mates. But what we can do is to include a unique ID, where we say ID equal to can decide to give it 001. Sorry, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Yeah, like this. So ID 002. ID, sorry. Okay, and what we need to do is, in this place, we can decide to, since React is asking us for key, so each one of them must have key according to React. You can see it's asking for a unique key prop, so there must be a key prop here. That's what React is saying. So the key we're saying should be dev.id, and that should be able to solve our problem. You can save. Let's refresh this guy. Very good. Okay, so this is where we come to the end of this particular topic. And if you like what we are doing here, if you like our mode of teaching, and I want to appeal to you that you please like this video and click the subscribe button. Help us build a community. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to me in the comment section, or feel free to follow me on Twitter and ask your questions in my DM. You can also send me an email, and I will do my best to ensure that your question is answered either in the next video or privately. Alright, so the next thing we are going to discuss after now is use state.